Hey everybody, welcome to the inaugural edition of Azure Cosmos DB TV Live. My name is Mark Brown. I'm a program manager on the Cosmos DB team. Welcome to this podcast, the very first one. We're going to try this as a weekly podcast to talk about anything and everything Cosmos DB. We'll have myself hosting and then various guests every week coming and talking about their favorite thing in Cosmos DB. Some weeks may just be me sitting here trying to write bad code, or maybe great code. You never know until it compiles. Partners, customers, anything and everything Cosmos DB is what we're all about here on this show. So with that, let me introduce Deborah Chen. Hey, Deb, how you doing?
Hey, Mark. How's it going?
I'm doing great. Just hanging out in sunny Southern California. I hear it's sunny up in Seattle today.
It's really nice today.
That's awesome.
Looking forward to spending some time outside.
That's great. That's great. So today you're going to talk about Azure Cosmos DB notebooks.
Yep.
Well, that's awesome.
Okay. Yeah, super excited to share notebooks with you and the audience watching. We had some couple of new features come out a couple of weeks ago at Ignite, so really excited to just dive into a demo.
That's awesome. Here, let me get you set up here. Whoops, wrong one. And have you go there. So yeah, why don't you take it away?
Okay, sounds good. And let me know, is the Zoom okay? I'll zoom in one more for me.
Yeah, I think it looks okay.
Okay, great. All right, so for those of you who have never used Cosmos DB notebooks, Cosmos DB has some built-in notebooks that make it really easy for you to visualize and analyze your data in Cosmos DB. So if you're new to Cosmos DB and just trying to get started and figure out how do I create a database? How do I create a container? How do I query my data? Or you're already using Cosmos DB for a while and just want a really nice, easy scratch pad to work with the data that doesn't require setting up an extra IDE, writing another console app, or finding some kind of graphics library to visualize your data, Notebooks has you covered. So let's dive right into how we can get started with Cosmos DB notebooks. The entry point will be in the Data Explorer. So here's my Azure portal in my Cosmos DB account, and I've got Data Explorer right here. So I'll go ahead and minimize this to give us some more space. And when we're in the Data Explorer, you can see here you have a new resource tree pane called Notebooks. So if you don't already have notebooks on your account, there'll be a button here that says Enable Notebooks. We're currently in 29 regions, so we're aiming to get to all of them. But if you have notebook account already in one of these regions, you'll see an Enable Notebooks button. If you create a new account in one of these regions today, it'll just be there by default. But in any case, you'll see this new notebooks tree, and from here, this is your entry point. So one thing we've done to make it really easy for you to get started is we have this gallery. This gallery contains samples written by just members of anyone in the Cosmos DB community. So here we've got folks who, any user of Cosmos DB, have contributed various samples. I've got someone who's contributed a sample on how to use multi-document transactions in the Mongo API, which is actually one of our recent Ignite announcements. We have some notebooks. I published one explaining how to use autoscale, and then just some other helpful tips and tricks by other members of the Cosmos DB community. And by Cosmos DB community, I really mean anyone. It's a public gallery, so anyone, including yourself watching, can contribute. And I'll show you how later in this demo. In addition to kind of the user contributions, we also have our official samples. These are written by the Cosmos DB team. So we have, zoom out so you can get a full view. We've got samples around how to get started. We've got some API specific content. Here's a getting started for Gremlin API. We even have one whole end-to-end scenario showing how you can do IoT anomaly detection with Cosmos DB, and just some introduction to other core Cosmos DB concepts like RUs, store procs, indexing queries. Mark, I remember you wrote this notebook a while back on global distribution. So
yeah,
anyway, all the core concepts. And you can even, if you see one that you really like, you can favorite it. So for example, if I want to favorite this getting started with .NET SDK, I can favorite, and I can go to my favorites and see all of them here. This my favorites is actually pretty unique in the sense that it's specific to your user context. So if I'm logged into this Cosmos DB account, I will only ever see the things that I favorited tied to my login. If someone else on your team has access to the same subscription or even the same Cosmos DB account, they'll only see the things they favorited. All right. So from here, you can click on a notebook. You can also filter, by the way, if you want to see all the getting started content at once. You can click on a notebook. We've got this built-in viewer, which is great. You can see what the notebook's about. But even better, what we've done to make it really easy for you to get started is you can hit download to my notebooks. And when you do this, it'll show up, say download, right here in my notebooks. And now we can go ahead and run it. So this sample notebook shows you how to do basic operations with our C# notebooks. So we've got C# as well as Python, and how to just get started with Cosmos DB. So given that it's a notebook for C# developers, by the way, I remember when I first started using this, Mark, I don't know if you felt the same way when you were using it. Usually with C#, you write a console app, you just write all the code, it runs in a loop. Here, you're kind of interactively running one cell at a time.
I think it's so awesome. I love when I heard that we announced support for C# in notebooks, because this is great. I don't have to fire Visual Studio. I don't have to do anything. I can just do this all in the browser and write with your data.
Yeah, there's so many times where I just wanted to do like one quick thing to try out something in the Cosmos DB SDK. Actually, last week ago when we were trying out like, does this query syntax work? So I actually just did it in the notebook.
That's cool.
Yeah. So as a C# developer, things that you'd expect, like you can import a custom NuGet package. We have a couple pre-installed to make it easy for you. But if you want something very specific, for example, there's a very popular data generation library called Bogus that we use all the time. Very helpful library to generate sample data. So we can bring that in. We're actually going to use that to create some sample data to load to our Cosmos DB container. And we also have the Cosmos DB client built in. So here, this is the familiar, I'm going to bring in my Microsoft.Azure.Cosmos, which is the namespace for our .NET v3 SDK. But notice I didn't have to actually right-click, manage NuGet packages, install it, choose a version. We actually have a version already pre-built in here. And you can see once we bring it in, we've got this, we can start creating a new instance of the Cosmos client, which is the entry point to all resources. We've got this endpoint and key. This endpoint and key is a kind of like a built-in environment variable. If you went to your connection strings, you would see the same key and endpoint there. Won't show it here since it's I'll have to change it.
Regenerate your key in the middle of your demo.
Yeah, then none of my demos will work again. But you can, this basically means it already has access to the context of this account. So it already knows if I make a Cosmos client with these connections, I'll be able to have access to all the resources that I'm going to create here. From here, I can create a database, create a container. And if I run it, this is actually running against Cosmos DB. So if I go to my data section, I can go to my database I created right here and see I actually have my collection or container as well. In addition to getting set up, the next thing you want to do after having any database or container is you want to put in some data in it. Otherwise, what is the database really for? So one nice thing we can do with this notebook is we can use a C# class to represent some kind of event or any kind of data type we want to put in. For this notebook in particular, we have a vehicle telemetry scenario. So we've got some telemetry events. We have some sensor data, this S1, S2, S3. It's all going to be synthetic generated from Bogus, some metadata about the vehicle as well. Now we have some helper code to insert the data into our collection. So this is the classic Bogus. Mark, I don't know how many times you've written this code.
My favorite library in the whole planet, right? So if you work on a database, this is the coolest library you can have.
Yeah, I love this library. So generate some data to match this type as if we actually had a car on the road driving, sending this data. And now this is back to the Cosmos DB SDK. So we've got some telemetry events generated. This container is the same reference to the container we created up here when we did container create container of not exist. It's the same container. So once you run this create item async, we'll iterate. This will put in these 100 events. And if I go to my items here, refresh again, I can see this is exactly the data that we said we wanted, and it's all here. So it's just like writing data to a Cosmos DB normally in your application, except we've got this nice notebooks environment to do so. Once we have data,
cool. I just love it. It's just all together. I mean, you're just flipping between tabs, right, in the same window there. So just love it.
Yeah, one nice thing is we have this sample in the gallery. So if you want to remix it, have a different data type for whatever your workload or something you want to demo, it's really easy just to use the scaffolding code. So after we get the data in, we now want to query the data. So here, this is the normal syntax for querying. So we've got the query, we have to select top 5. I'll actually make this 100 so we can get some more data. We iterate through all the pages to see if there's more results. And then check this out. Normally, if you are running this in Visual Studio, this would be the part where there's like a giant red squiggly and saying, hey, where's the semicolon? Where's, like, what is this variable just hanging out here? One thing about this notebooks environment is that if you have any variable, that's the last line of the cell. And if it's especially something that you can iterate over, like a list, in this case, it's an enumerable. We've got this result set of all the things that have come back from this query. The notebooks environment actually knows to render this either as a table, which it's done here. So this is actually all of the results nicely. You didn't have to go to, sometimes in Visual Studio, you'll like console.writeLine print it out, or set a breakpoint, just step and look through all the data. But here you can just see it all in one go in this nice table view. You can even do things like you can filter if you wanted. Let's say I only wanted if say like the number was greater or less than some value. In addition to this table view, we also have a bunch of built-in visualizations. So this tool is an open source project called Interact, which we've embedded here, like Interact Data Explorer. And you can do a lot of things like use their built-in visualizations. So wow, here we've got
super cool. Is that free?
Yeah, actually, I forgot to mention this earlier. Notebooks is all free. It comes built into your account. If you create any resources, like against in your Cosmos DB account, for example, I just created this container here with 400 RUs that consumes RUs in the normal Cosmos DB pricing way. Yep. But just using notebooks in itself is completely free.
Wow, and the visualization, I'll just get it all.
Yeah, and this one is so nice because it's interactive. You can just hover over. If I decide, let's say I want to visualize the S3 sensor data and I want to group it by, let's say, vehicle type.
Wow.
Now, yeah, just there's no code to build this visualization.
That's amazing. What other visualizations have you got in there?
Yeah, I've got a couple. They don't all apply for this scenario, but we've got this box and whiskers chart here. We've got some scatter plots going on. We've got some of these I haven't really found a good kind of Cosmos DB data set for, but if anyone's watching and you're like, oh, my data set would fit perfectly as this tree, feel free to write the notebook. I'll show you how in a bit and send it to us, and you could be featured right here in this public gallery.
Yeah.
Right. So cool. Yeah, so this is the getting started for C#. I mentioned we have both C# and Python. So Mark, I'm thinking I can show some of the other cool stuff you can do for Python for those Python developers watching.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So I've got this notebook here, and I have this notebook here called Python Tips and Tricks. So a lot of the things that you could do in C#, you'd also expect here. We've got the built-in Cosmos DB Python SDK. So again, I just import Azure.Cosmos, and now I can get access to this Cosmos client instance and create a database and container. So let's actually call this data, I'll call it demo database. Run it, so it's created the, I didn't change the print message, but if we look here, refresh, and here's a brand new database with this website data. From here, we have some other handy magics. This one also works in the C# notebook. If you ever have a JSON file that you just want to get into Cosmos DB and it's a reasonable size, you can run this upload command. These are built-in, we call them like notebook magics because they're magic commands. That's actually what they're called. I'm not just calling them magic. Upload, you specify the database, the container, the URL as long as it's a JSON file. So this is publicly available. If you wanted to build something with the same data set, you could get it here. Run this, and it will has a built-in
progress bar.
Yeah. It'll also tell you, how many documents you were able to upload, the amount of time it took. I think this is pretty cool. This is the RUs consumed for the whole operation. I think I showed this to someone once, and they were like, you consume 27,000 RUs per second. Like, is this costing me? This one, I set it to actually auto scale just so the import would go a bit faster. But this is per second. So if you wanted to see, you could divide this by the 5 seconds and get the per second if you want. Yeah. All right. So after you've got the data inside, we can just verify that it's all here. Yep. All the data is here, exactly what we had in here. As a Python developer, one of the things that you'll probably be doing a lot is you'll be using pandas to analyze a lot of your data. Sometimes it's just really handy to have a data frame, because once you get from the Cosmos DB data into your data frame, you can basically do whatever you want with the data. So we have another helpful magic command here called SQL. And what it does is it says, run this query here. So select a couple of fields from my data set, and I'll put it to this data frame, which I'll name df_cosmos. So if I run this, I can even see the query metrics too if you want to see that info. You can get that same info from the SDK, but it's also built in here if you ever want to see it. You can get the results into a data frame. So now this data that was previously in this collection here is now in this data frame. Okay. From there, you can run kind of slice, dice any way you want, but we can also visualize it. So again, this is just an environment to run some Python code. So we can also bring in our own custom Python packages that we'd like to use via pip install. So similarly for C#, we brought in our own NuGet packages. Here we're going to bring in our own Python packages. We've got this cool visualization library called Bokeh. And here I've actually pre-built a visualization that takes in data from the data frame, gets the top 10 items for all the items in here. Oh, I should have mentioned what the data was. The data here is just a bunch of, it's like a product catalog where we have some items, and then we track whether a user is viewing it, whether they're adding it to a cart, and where they're located once they look at that item. Run this. There's some code to generate the graph. And here I'll zoom out so it's easier to see. We've got this nice bokeh interactive graph where you can see for the top 10 most popular items, how many of them were grouped by each category, and it's interactive. So you can also hover and see how many events or people looked at each one.
Wow, that's cool. Does Bokeh have different visualizations as well, like the other thing you showed me?
Yeah, they have a couple. There's actually, if you want to see, I've got another one here. Okay, not sure why this looks like this right now. I think my screen is being, but they actually have a world map as well. So this one is also built. This was in our gallery results, but with the same data. It should not look like this. I'll have to debug this after, but yeah, they've got a ton of visualizations you can use.
Oh, that's cool. So you could use that to do like geospatial queries and plot your coordinates out on a map.
Yeah, exactly. And if your data set has that data, then you can just do it here. Yeah,
that's cool. Cool. So how can I get started writing these things? I mean, where do I go?
Yeah, so you can always start. You've got a couple options. You can always go to the gallery, pick one of these starter samples to download, and just kind of edit from there. But if you want to create a brand new notebook, or let's say you have some data here that hey, I want to start analyzing this, you can just do a new notebook. It would be called untitled to start. You can give it a title, choose whether you want Python or C#. Say you want Python, and here you can just start going. Great. It'll print too. And then usually I always like to look at some sample code and get started, and you can bring in the Python SDK, get connected, start querying your data here, and basically do whatever you need to do.
That's cool. So great. I could start from scratch, or I can copy an existing one, which is probably what I would do. I'd rather copy than write for myself on there. Really, that's really cool. And then then how do I share or publish, I guess, if I want to share that in a gallery?
Yeah, that's
anything special I got to do?
Yeah, it's just a couple steps pretty fast. So like I mentioned earlier, we've got this public gallery where anyone watching can, if you have a sample that you think would be helpful to broader Cosmos DB community or something cool that you just want to share, you can go to your notebook. So let's say I'll take my Python tips and tricks notebook here. Let's say I want to publish it and share it with everyone. So from here, I can go under Save. Got this new Publish to Gallery feature. This is, by the way, the new feature that we announced at Ignite just only a week ago. It's been losing all sense of time here. But from here, I've got this publish the gallery tab, so we'll give it some metadata. For example, if we want to call it Python tips tricks, called demo. And give it some tags, so I'll give it Python demo. Also pretty good for getting started. You can give it a custom image. So one nice thing we've built in is if you want to give a URL or image, you could do that. You can also take a screenshot of what's currently on the screen. So hit that. Oh. It'll take a second. That's literally what's on here.
That's
so if
cool.
I wanted something, so if I wanted something nicer, right, I could go back. Oops, it looks like I lost the thing, but I should take, the screenshot if I didn't want to, take my own. Right, and then I'll go ahead and publish it. Yep, usually takes about a second or so. And now if I go to my published work, by the way, if you're logged in as you'll only see the work you've published. If someone else logs in your team, only see yours. So right here, if I go to the public gallery, I can now see, hey, there's my notebook, and view it. Yeah. And one nice thing about this is if you are ever in a state where you just want to see the notebook, but you don't need to run it right away, we also have this in a standalone form. So Mark, I think you have this link floating around somewhere. Anyone can go here today. If you actually go here.
This is the cosmos.azure.com/gallery.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I got it up there on the screen.
Yeah, so there's no need to log in, sign in. You don't even need an Azure account or a Cosmos DB account to view this. And if you scroll down, see, here's a notebook that was just published.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so if anyone is watching this and you're thinking, hey, I have like a notebook that I think would be really useful, or I have some sample code that just keep writing over and over again that would be that you want to share. Just from any Cosmos DB account, write your notebook, do the publish workflow, and it'll pretty much show up here for anyone to use. In the future, we'd love to feature them. We'd love to feature them in the blog post. So if you have contributions, send me and Mark a note. I think Mark has some nice swag he can send you as well.
Some Cosmos socks or something like that. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. So is that it?
It's actually one more thing I want to show you if we have time.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right, so we've covered scenarios where you want to get started and share your notebook to this public gallery, but there are some times where you might just want to collaborate with maybe just people in your team, right? Notebooks that you want to share with their team, but not necessarily the entire world, right? So to that end, we've also made it possible for you to connect this notebooks workspace to a GitHub repository. And this GitHub makes it easy to do version control of your notebooks. So for example, if you and Mark, if we are collaborating on a notebook, we'll probably want version control, otherwise we'll just keep overwriting each other's stuff. And the easiest way to do that is just put it in a GitHub repo. So to do that, from here, you can go to connect to GitHub. You can select either public repos or public and private repos. We'll do public for now. Authorize access. It's going to ask me to authorize. Type in my password. And now it's showing me all of the repos that I have here. I have too many, so I'm just going to scroll down and find the one that I want. And if you can't find it, you can also just type it here. So actually, I already know what's called. This. I don't know if other people have this problem. I just accumulated so many repos from random projects.
Years, yes.
Yeah, but if you can add it here, so now the top, and you can also choose the branch that you want. So I actually have a main branch and a branch one, but I'll just take the main one for now. Hit OK. And now under my notebooks, I have GitHub repos. So here I've got some notebooks I've written here. And if I wanted, I could take one, I could bring it in here. I could actually even start running this notebook. But let's say I want to take a notebook that I've written just in my Scratchpad here and commit it to this repo. So to do that, I would say I want to take my Python tips and tricks one. Say I'll share it here as well. I can copy to. I'll select my GitHub repo. So now we're just copying between here. Hit OK. And you're probably, if you're thinking about GitHub, like, wait, how does it know it's going to push to my repo? Yes. The save is basically the same as a commit and push. So if I say, we'll What's a good message, Mark?
Initial commit. That's what I always use for my first one. So
yeah, it's Python. All right, hit save. So now it shows up here. Show it in a second. Shows up here, and I can start working on it here if I want to make more edits. For example, let's say the bottom. I want to say, let's make this a markdown cell. Okay, not sure why it's not letting me type right now, but in any case, I haven't committed. Live show.
Live TV, yeah.
From here, if I go to my repo, so this is the one, hopefully if I refresh, yeah, there's the actual commit from here. And so if this was a private repo that I'd share with you, Mark, or even a few other people, you could do the same thing. You could, from your workspace, connect to GitHub, grab the repo, and start working on the notebook.
Great, and then basically just regular merge back up into GitHub for pull requests and other things. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, great. How would I now, if I committed something, is there a way I could do a pull or a fetch to pull it back into? Or I guess not, huh?
What do you mean?
Like if I go and merge something up in there, one of my changes, and you had an existing change in there, is there a way you could fetch that back down? Or I guess
if you close it, and you might have to refresh. If you close and refresh, it should get the latest.
Get the latest. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's great. So now that's great. You can collaborate and create notebooks and publish them to the gallery, and all on Cosmos, all on our portal. So yeah. Wow. Well, that's great, Deb. Thank you so much for showing us all that. That's just amazing. What a cool experience in there to be able to work with your data and visualize it. And now you can create these things and share them and have examples to start from. Just so awesome. Love this experience.
Yeah, thanks for giving a chance to demo it. And again, check out the gallery here, and just showed you it's so easy to contribute. If you have things you want to share, just publish them. We'll see them. Send us a mail. We'd love to feature them in upcoming blog posts. Cool.
That sounds great. All right. Well, Deb, thank you so much. And thanks for being our very first Cosmos DB live TV episode guest. It was great having you.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark, for setting this up. And I guess hello to everyone watching, and thank you for tuning in.
All right. Well, thanks, Deb. And then thank you, everyone, for joining. We'll see you next week. Thank you.